Hey everyone, in this video what we're going to be talking about is how to convert from the factored form to the standard form. And in this particular video we're going to be focusing on the FOIL method. So just a reminder that the factored form and the standard form, both are just different ways of writing the exact same equation. What we're going to do though is we're going to use that factored form to get our standard form, which makes it easier to plug it into a calculator. And it's just a great practice for math. So the first form that we're going to talk about is the FOIL method. So FOIL, you can see it's all caps, actually stands for something. And in this poster to the right, you can see it's first, outer, inner, last. And so this is the method of multiplying two binomials. That's where you have 2x plus 3, which would be a line, and you also have x minus 2, which would be another line. So in order to get a parabola, what we end up doing is we multiply these two lines together, and that gives us that curved parabola. So in order to multiply these equations by each other, or these binomials by each other, we have to make sure that we multiply things correctly. And that's what the FOIL method does for us. So the first thing that we do is we take this outside term. So first, outer, inner, last. So we're going to take this outside number in our first equation, and we're going to distribute it to the other parentheses. So we take this 2x, and we multiply it by this x. And so that's what you're seeing here. The first terms are we multiply the outside and the first term of the second binomial. So what we end up getting is 2x times x, which is what they have written here, 2x times x, for a total of 2x squared. So basically, if you look at this little multiplication we got going here, we have two x's, that's why our x is squared, and we only have 2 as the coefficient. So 2 just stays 2. So that's our first step of the FOIL method. We just took care of our outside term and our first term in our second binomial. Now the next thing we got to do is we have to make sure we don't forget this negative 2 over here. So we take this 2x, we're still on this outside term because we haven't used it fully yet, and we're going to multiply it by this negative 2. So we look at this, we have the outer terms, we have 2x plus 3 and x minus 2. We're going to take this outside term and we're going to multiply it by this last part of the second binomial. And what we basically get is 2x times negative 2. So we only have one x, so our answer should only have one x. And then we multiply these coefficients. We have negative 2 times a positive 2, which is how we get this negative 4 over here. For the inner terms, once we've multiplied our 2x by this whole second parentheses, boom, we're done with it. We can move on to our inner term. So this is how we first, outer, inner, last. We're going to do this 3 times the x. So our inner terms, we have 3 times x this time. So we only have one x, and we only have 3 for our coefficient, so our answer should be 3x. And just like that, we finished our inner term with the first part of the binomial. Now we can't forget that we're distributing it to the whole parentheses, so we're doing 3 times negative 2 as well. So in our last terms, we have 3 times negative 2, which, oh, there's no x's here, so there should be no x in my solution. And then we have negative 2 times 3, a negative times a positive makes negative 6. So once I have all of these answers over here on the right, I have to actually combine my like terms. I have a positive 2x squared, I have a negative 4x, I have a positive 3x, and a negative 6. So what I do is I add all of these together. If it was negative up above, it needs to be negative down here. So 2x squared, I don't have anything else that's x squared, so that has to be part of my final answer. Negative 6, I don't have any other numbers that are on their own without any variables, so negative 6 has to be part of my final answer. But these like terms, I have to add them together if they're alike. I have negative 4x plus 3x. The difference between those two is just 1, and the negative 4x is larger. So my total answer is 2x squared minus x, because I combined those like terms, and minus 6. Now I know that seems like a lot of steps to get started with, but once you get in the habit of this, it's super easy. If after watching this video, you're still like, Ms. Berg, that was crazy, I'm still confused, I put a video in here for you to watch anytime that you want to. And there's also another method that you can use. Watch the other video called the box method. Some people prefer that. I'm totally fine with it. I like both solutions. The cool thing about math is there's often more than one way to get the right answer. So that was me explaining the FOIL method. I'm going to do 2 practice problems. You can stick around for them so you can see it in action, or you can go and try the homework. It's up to you. So our FOIL example number 1, if you're sticking around, is we're going to try to find the standard form of this equation. We have y is equal to x plus 2 times x plus 3. Again, we have two binomials that we are multiplying together. So if we're going to FOIL it up, we're going to take our equation. I'm going to stick it up here. I like showing all of my work, so you're going to see me show all my work in these presentations. So y is equal to x plus 2 and x plus 3. You can see I've color-coded this first binomial. I have my outside number and I have my inside number. Now recall, for FOIL, first we take care of our outside number. So we're going to multiply x by the second parentheses. So x times x, that's how I get this down here. I have x times x, which would make what? 2 x's. So that's how I got this x squared. There's 2 of those x's. And then for the next part, I have x times my second part of my parentheses. So I should have x times a positive 3, which you can see down here where I show my work. Yep, I do have x times positive 3. And what that ends up making is a positive 3x. And just like that, I've already taken care of my outside number. Boom, done. Now I can move on to my inside number. First, outside, inside, last. That's where FOIL comes from. So I'm going to take that 2 and I'm going to multiply it by the second parenthesis. So I'm going to have 2 times x, because x is that first number in the second parentheses, which should make 2x. And then I'm going to take this 2 and I'm going to multiply it by the positive 3. 2 times positive 3, which should be positive 6. All right, now once I've done all of these like little multiplications, I have to actually add them together. So I have my x squared and my 3x from the top. I add them to the bottom. I have my 2x and 6x. I'm adding all of those together. Now, is this my final answer? No, can't be. I have to actually add my like terms. So x squared is the only x squared. 6 is the only number without any variable. But this 3x and 2x, I have to combine those like terms. So once I combine everything, my final answer should be x squared plus 5x plus 6. Boom, we just FOILed. So I know that seems like a lot of steps at first. The more you do it, the easier it is. I promise you that. Let's do another example. So for our example number 2, now I've added a little bit of something over here. I've added a 2 out front of our 2 factors, or our 2 binomials, sorry. That 2 is going to be important, but we're going to save it for the end. So don't even worry about that. We're going to focus on FOILing these first 2 numbers, or these first parentheses, I should say. So I'm going to bring this up here. I'm going to have my outside and inside number, and I'm going to have my second parentheses. Now this 3 should be a negative 3. I made a mistake over here. So my first outside, I have x, and I'm multiplying it by the second parentheses. And you can see I have the correct number over here. I have negative 3. So first I do x times x, which makes x squared. Again, there's 2 x's, that's why it's x squared. And then I have negative 3 times x, which makes negative 3x. Now that's my outside number. I did it. First part of FOIL. Now my inside number is last. So I'm going to take this 2 and I'm multiply it by the second parentheses. I've got my 2 times x and my 2 times negative 3. So first, 2x. That's pretty simple. I just get 2x. 2 times negative 3. Now the sign is important. Make sure you keep track of it. It should be negative 6. Once I have all of these numbers, I add them all together. So I get x squared minus 3x. Remember, this sign is really important. We're adding all of these terms together, but if I'm adding a negative number, I can just turn this into a subtraction sign. So x squared minus 3x plus 2x minus 6. So once I'm here, am I done? No, I have to add like terms. So again, the x squared is by itself. That's fine. That's fine just the way it is. The negative 6, boom, nothing else without a variable, so that's on its own. But these x's right here, we have to combine those like terms. So if I take negative 3x and I add 2x, what do I end up getting? I end up getting x squared minus x minus 6. Because if I add this negative 3x plus 2x, that makes a negative 1x. And that's how I got this number down here. Now, is this my final answer for this problem? No, we can't forget about the 2 that was out front. This is going to happen in our equations next week for our catapults. There's going to be an amplitude that's going to be out front that we're going to have to distribute as well. But that's okay. Save it for the end. Once you've done all of the foiling, we can take care of this pesky 2 afterwards. So I can take this equation that I just found in standard form, and all I do is distribute my 2 to everything. So I do 2 times x squared, 2 times negative x, and 2 times negative 6 to give me a final answer of y is equal to 2x squared minus 2x minus 12. And that is how you FOIL. Remember, if you have any questions still, please email me. The homework problems, there's only 4 of them, and you can do them at your own pace. If this method seems too complicated for you, or if you're like, I just want to know what the box method is, watch the next video so you have a better idea of another way that you can solve these problems. Good luck, everybody.